Every child is asked what they want to do when they grow up. The typical answer would be whatever the parent's profession is. However, mine was not. At just 3 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. The first time going to New York City and watching the Radio City Rockettes, I knew that I was meant to be on that stage. Pursuing dance was not the intention when I was enrolled in my first ballet class at age 3. My mother knew I liked to dance, and what little girl doesn't like twirling around in a tutu? Years later is when the truth came out, though. Year after year, I added more dance classes up until I was in the studio more than I was even at home. My life was surrounded by dance, and this was exactly what I wanted to do the rest of my life. At age 13, I was old enough to attend the Rockette Day experience. Although I had taken jazz and tap for multiple years, it was still a completely new style. Going to this camp alone, without any of my friends, was both good and bad. For the first time, I had something that was just mine. None of my friends came. This was just for me to learn. After learning each combination, they take you in small groups and fill out a paper saying what your strengths and weaknesses are. Thankfully, I received excellent for all 3 categories. This paper was possibly the best confidence boost I could have received. This gave me the courage to pursue this even further. Over the course of the next 2 years, I performed a musical theater solo for competition. Although I was not the best dancer of my friend group, I never gave up. Over these 2 years, I grew as a person, but much more as a dancer. I fought to learn new skills and improved my technique greatly. After performing this dance for 2 years, I then performed it at nationals for the first time and received my first platinum and 8th place overall for my age group. When I was 15, I continued going after this dream and auditioned for the Rockette Summer Intensive program. Although this was not the ultimate dream, it was one step closer. This was a big step for me. One January weekend, we drove back to New York City and stayed the night. The next morning, I got up at 7 a.m. to get ready. As we entered the side of the building, I was nervous and terrified. No one at my studio had ever gone to a summer intensive or even at an audition in New York City before. Although I did the day experience, that was a full 2 years ago. This was not the same. I was a different person now, trying to prove that I was someone to consider for this camp. This was a huge step for me. This camp was everything. However, being realistic, I did not expect to get it the first shot. We were there, and I was the first in line. We were over an hour early, even though I was already signed up. They had to let me in. Being extremely eager, I waited for more people to line up before I lined up myself. At this point, the nerves were just taking over. I finally shocked out of it when I realized that my mom could not come up into the building with me. Being an only child, I leaned on my mother a lot during my high school and middle school years. This was a big thing, and not having her with me was even more terrifying. After we went up the elevators and walked up the stairs, we saw the rehearsal hall. It's just like I remember from the day experience. There were pictures of the Rockettes and tape marks on the floor. I immediately calmed down and knew that I was there to dance, and that is exactly what I was planning on doing. Even though I was not the best in the room, I was not the worst either. Over the next 4 hours, we learned a jazz combination, a kick combination, and a tap combination. After we learned the jazz and kick combo, we performed them 3 at a time. If that was not intimidating enough, we had to do a double parallel pirouette individually as the groups went. There was about 100 people at the audition, so this process took over 2 hours. After we did this portion, we then learned a tap routine and did that 4 at a time, as well as performing a time step of our choice individually. After that, the audition was done and we were sent downstairs to wait for our parents. The next 2 months were possibly the longest 2 months of history. Asking a 15-year-old to be patient is almost impossible. However, the wait was worth it. I received the congratulatory email stating that I was accepted to attend one of the Rockette Summer Intensive weeks. This process still completely remains the same, and as I attend this each year, I will continue to go this coming summer for my 8th year, and I will be one of the longest returning RSI members that they have ever had. I was and still am extremely fortunate that this was a dream of mine, but more important, that audition changed my life. This past summer, I was given the opportunity by a former Rockette to attend another training camp. At this camp, she told us that she strictly picked us out of the crowd because she thought we had potential and the ability to pursue this as a job. She then said that if we wanted to pursue this as a job, that she would help us get there. This coming May will be my 4th audition for the Radio City Rockettes, and each day I become one step closer to pursuing my dream.